All right, welcome back. You're on Breakfast Daily. The hashtag is Breakfast Daily on all social media platforms. Do engage with us. The WhatsApp line is 0550585832. Now, last week when the people of Zacholi were attacked by, assailants and people were killed and all of that, what happened was that some of their cattle, were exposed, and some people took opportunistic advantage and attacked the cattle, stole some of the cattle. Now we have a report for you of what happened since then. Let's take a look.
Following an attack on Zacholi by some unknown assailants that led to the death of some 8 persons, cattle belonging to herdsmen in the village was vandalized. 7 persons were arrested by the police cutting meat from their illegal activity. Subsequently, they were sent to court. The 7 were charged on 2 counts, i.e. conspiracy to steal and stealing. According to the police, the suspect killed 4 cattle belonging to one Karimu Sambo, with each valued at 5,000 cedis. In court, all the 7 accused persons pleaded guilty to the charges. They pleaded with the presiding judge, His Honor Antonio Aduku Edu, to be lenient with them and promise to educate their colleagues to desist from engaging in such acts. The judge alluded to the fact that they are first-time offenders, hence the ruling to just convict them to a fine. They were convicted to 100 penalty unit, translating to 1,200 Ghana cedis in default, go to prison for 6 months. He also asked that they each pay 3,000 cedis as compensation to the complainant, or in default, go for an additional 3 months in prison. In all, each accused person is to pay 4,200 cedis, or in default, serve 9 months in prison. The prosecutor in the case, Inspector Gariba Kwesi, tells City News the judgment is in line with the right direction.
The 4 cows that the accused persons were seen with, the value was 20,000 Ghana cedis. And the accused persons being 7, he has asked that each and every one should pay 3,000 as a compensation to the complainant. Basically, looking at the amount involved and the final judgment, and looking at the case in itself, I am okay with the whole thing.
The complainant is, however, dissatisfied with the ruling, describing it as very inadequate.
So ula kutoa sawa la nguna dama binning la nguna samdo kam manke ndamila la nguna ku baba na wani sana asama abun kane pa handle bun ka ka to nya hali ni pihinu ni mane hali ni pihiyo ka to nya ni mane kana ka de milo kita ula kana ni milo kita boy na male mambukar boy mambukar boy na male thank you.
The police is yet to make any arrest with respect to the Zacholi issue, where 8 people were killed, 4 others sustained various degrees of injury, and several properties destroyed. The deceased were on Sunday buried, and the injured are responding to treatment at the Yendi Hospital.
Right, so that is a report filed by our Northern Regional Correspondent, Mohammed Alabira, who joins us on the line. Thank you very much. Welcome to Breakfast Daily, Mohammed.
Thank you, Ajia.
Right, so paint a picture to us. What is the current state of the community that is Wapuli? Do the people, are they happy about the court ruling? Do they find some kind of satisfaction with the outcome of the case? And also, what is the state of security in the community?
Thank you very much. Wapuli is a different community from Zacholi community. Zacholi is a community in the Yendi municipality. That Wapuli is that of Saboba district. So the change happens in different locations.
Okay.
So generally, people who were in the court were actually not happy about the ruling. People thought maybe they should have been punished more than what was given to them. And the lawyer actually made it very clear to them that they are first-time offenders. And again, there is no link between, according to the victim, the suspect in the court there, they said no, they did not take part in killing of the animals. They only went for the carcass. And the police themselves were not able to establish that they did kill the animals. They only saw them carry the meat away. So it was around this thing that the judge gave the ruling, actually.
Right. So what exactly was the ruling? What punishment was meted out to them?
Yes. What the ruling was that each of them was charged with 100. Each person would pay 1,200 cedis to the state, and the judge also mentioned that they would, each of them would pay 3,000 Ghana cedis as compensation to the complainant. So in all, putting the two together, one person was going to pay 4,200 cedis to the court.
Right. Now, please go on. Go on.
Yeah, in default of the 1,200, the suspects were to go for prison for 6 months, and in default for the 3,000, they are to go for 3 months. So putting all together, if you default in paying the 4,200, you will go for prison for 9 months. That was the ruling of the judge. Right.
Now, you tell us the community members were not happy with this ruling. What exactly did they want?
Yes. Why they were not happy was that, yes, what happened in the court, the judge, the police, in reading the facts, say that the complainant had about 138 cattle, and four of them were killed. That was what the police caught them with. They caught them with 4 animals that they killed. So when I reading the fact, the judge asked, is the complainant in court? He said he responded, and he was brought forward. So when he asked the judge, actually what surprised the judge was the value of each cattle, because the police put the value of each cow that was killed at 5,000 cedis. So the judge was surprised, and when he called the complainant to come and then so that he could interrogate him. So when he came, he asked him, is it true that your animal, one cow, will cost 5,000 cedis? The complainant said yes, even more, that looking at the male cattle, the male cattle that was there, to him, there were more than even 5,000. So there the judge said, hey, then he had to go into cattle railing or whatever. So that was it. It was there that he told judge. So judge asked him, so how many of your cattle were killed? He said, and now they are left with just 32. Then the judge said, hey, then it means they killed over 100. He said yes. So in 138, leaving 32, it means that about 106 were killed. That was what he told the court. And actually what the police sent to the court was just 4 animals. And this ruling was based on the 4 animals sent to the court.
But Alabira, being in the community yourself and with the information that you have gathered, you know, how many cattle have you been able to pick up that were killed?
Yes, thank you, madam. What happened at the Zacholi community? That was my worry in the beginning, because I was wondering where the children that follow the cattle and the cattle themselves would be. So when I interacted with them, they told me that as at now around Zacholi community, there is no rain there, and grass is not there. So they have to migrate. They have to send the cattle away from that place. They brought them to Nanumba North Municipality, around a village called Brinchara Tanga. That was what they told me. The surviving men in the community, they told me that, as for them, their cattle are no longer here. And this one happened. These people took advantage of the happening at Zacholi, at Wapuli. I told you Wapuli is in Saboba. So when they heard that, some unknown assailants have attacked herdsmen at Zacholi on this, that. So they also took advantage of that, trying to attack herdsmen in their location at Wapuli in Saboba district. So that led to the killing of these people. So for now, the police are not able to relate these people to the happenings at Zacholi community. It is considered on its own as maybe a separate case, but not related to Zacholi issue.
Right. So does this also mean that the people, the accused persons who have been arrested and of course who went to court and were fined, were not able to mention at least one person who was part of perpetrating the act? Because they say that they were only there to take part of the meat away. They don't know whoever did this?
Yes, they never mentioned, they did not mention anybody's name. They say they only saw the animals in the bush and they went to feast on it. So they themselves were not able to mention anybody that they thought maybe have committed that act. No, they were not able to mention anybody.
Right.
Alabira, what's the situation with the Zacholi community, and is there any update on what's happening with the case of those who were murdered?
Yes, thank you, Aladi. Yes, what happened to them now, or what has happened to them now, is that you remember 2 days ago, the vice president was in the community. Actually, when he went there, he was so devastated. He couldn't believe what actually happened there. And there, throughout, the vice president never mentioned, he never uttered a word. He was devastated. My surprise thing is that he promised that, or at Tamale, the regional minister said, by tomorrow, relief items will be sent to them. But till I tell you now, yesterday I was with the NADMO officers in Genji. They told me they have still not received any item to be sent to them. So currently it is the community, the Zacholi community chief and the people in Zacholi that are taking care of the survivors in the community. That is the women and children in that community. And earlier the chief told me that it will be difficult for them to take care of them after 5 days, because they themselves, they do not have enough food to take care of them. And another critical issue is their clothing, the clothing that the women and children were wearing. There were some students, they didn't have, they were just naked like that. Meaning, which means that all their clothing were burnt, and the women, just the clothing, the shirt and the cloth that they were wearing, that was what was left with them. So I am surprised to date, government has not sent relief items to them.
All right. Alabira, thank you very much for this update. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyway, so, it's very disheartening. We have disaster management organization, and till this point in time, we are realizing that, from what Alabira is saying, a promise has been made, and I don't even think it has to come from a promise. The issue is that it's been a disaster, something that was unexpected. The community there's a vacuum, there's a gaping hole. They are desperate, they need help, but nobody's minding them.
And David, I think that another thing too that we probably need to really pay attention to is the state of insecurity, in some of these areas, what we can do to prevent such happenings, that when there's a disaster, when there's an emergency in a community, how do we ensure that people don't take advantage of what is happening, to perpetrate other crimes? So you realize that due to what had gone on in Zacholi, now people are also taking advantage of this in Wapuli, to do other things, right? So if really the people who have been arrested and fined are not the persons who committed the crime, it means that we have on the loop now, and that is very, very dangerous, It means that any day, any time, some persons can spring up surprises on us again. So what are we doing to ensure that there's some kind of security in this area, because if you look at what happened to the people in Zacholi, they were just ambushed, and this happened. Nobody saw it coming. They couldn't do anything. So how do we know that we have dealt with this, and have we actually dealt with it? And rightly, how we manage disasters in this country, is also another big issue. When things happen, I always say it, that things are bound to happen, but how do we deal with them? One thing we might not be able to do is to control some of these things. We might, to a certain extent, be able to put measures in place to deal with them. But as long as we are managing human beings, there are some recalcitrant ones out there who would try to test the system. When this happens, how do we deal with this? And I think that we really need to begin to pay attention to some of these happenings in our country. It's very, very key. And now, if you realize, there seem to be disasters, pockets of disasters happening dotted all around. And I think that we really need to pay attention to this before it escalates into something else. Now, there was something in Zacholi. Other people are taking advantage of it. Who else is looking at what has happened in Wapuli to also take advantage of it? And it keeps going on and on and on.
I think basically the infrastructure that we have in terms of our leadership infrastructure, there's the traditional leadership, as well as the democratic leadership that we have. I think that there needs to be some kind of cohesion and working together that makes, you see, because you say security services, but all of these security services respond to instructions from above, right? So then there has to be some kind of cohesive, effort to make sure that, look, if you've been to the north, you know how vast the north is, and then you find little hamlets here, and there's 100 kilometers before the next town, and so those kind of it's difficult to police in that sense, right? But we need to be able to come up with some kind of a system that allows for maybe a traditional system of security, that complements our security services as well, so that if one is other one is reporting to the other or something, I don't know exactly, but we need to figure something out.
No, we really need to, and for me, I am. Addressing issues like this, you need to be very careful because the northern part of Ghana, is an area that there seems to be some kind of tension all the time in that part of Ghana.
Among certain groups in
exactly, among certain people, there seems to be always that kind of friction. The listing sparks some kind of confusion, and so dealing with things like these are also very, very key, and that is why traditional leaders must also be involved. So now the people say that our cattle have been attacked, some have been killed. We go to the court, we are not happy with the findings.
Situation.
What will happen after that? How are we managing this? So if you're not careful, this will also lead to something else. And so I think that is very, very key that we really manage the outcome of such of these happenings very, very well, just so we do not have another disaster at hand to deal with.
Well, we have just a couple of days more before the levy is implemented.
Today is the 20th, right?
Yeah, in full force. It's supposed to be implemented on the 1st of May. But 1st of May is a Sunday. So which means it's supposed to be implemented on a Monday. But Monday is a holiday. And Tuesday is also a holiday. So the minority have gone to court to seek an injunction to say that implementation be on hold. Okay, we have a couple of stories that I want to read to you. The minority files an application for injunction. We are citynewsroom.com. You can go there. We have the story there. It says minority files injunction application against implementation of levy. Okay, the minority in Parliament has filed an injunction application at the Supreme Court in Accra against the implementation of the controversial electronic transfer levy, popularly known as levy, pending a determination of its substantive case currently before the Apex Court. The court has, however, scheduled the hearing of the case for May 4th, 2022, 3 days after the planned date of the implementation of the levy. The member of Parliament for North Tong, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, announced via his Facebook page that the application was successfully filed on Tuesday, the 19th of April 2022. He says here, and I quote, "We have today, Tuesday, successfully filed an application at the Supreme Court to injunct the implementation of the obnoxious levy pending the determination of our substantive case," he said. All right, so this is basically what's happened here. Parliament passed the bill on Tuesday, the 29th of March, in the absence of the minority, who had walked out before the bill was considered at a second reading stage. Okay, of course, we know that the levy was also reduced from the 1.75 to 1.5. Now, Freba, I think we're at interesting times in our country. And I think it was Siemens who said that this particular parliament is going to throw up a lot of very interesting things, you know, and we are seeing it. We are seeing it almost every day, you know. And now, I think on Eyewitness News, I mean, Kujito Ablako was saying that the injunction alone, the successful filing of the injunction alone means that the government cannot implement. Yeah. But I hear that there are different sides to this. It's like some people are of the view that no, if the injunction hasn't been heard,
of course,
you know,
it doesn't hold.
Yeah, if the case hasn't been heard,
yeah,
then it doesn't hold. But some people say all you have to do is to file it successfully, you know, and you know, serve those who.
Well, I don't know much about law, but I know that it has been filed, yes, but you need that authority, you know, from the court to say that, yes, we agree to this, don't do it.
Well.
So until then, we are still waiting to look at that. But you know that Telco's Chamber has also thrown in something regarding levy.
Okay.
And so now so ahead of the highly anticipated implementation of the electronic transfer levy, levy from May 2022, and I'm reading this from the citynewsroom.com, the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications has called for a review of portions of the law to exclude 1.5% charge on payment of salaries made via mobile money. Now, according to the chamber, per the current law, salaries that are paid via mobile money would attract the 1.5% charge, whereas salaries paid through banks will not attract any levy. The Telecommunications Chamber describes such move as discriminatory. The levy is a 1.5% tax on electronic transfers that include but is not limited to mobile money transfers done between accounts on the same network, mobile money transfer from an account on one network to a recipient on another network, transfers from bank accounts to mobile money accounts, and transfer from mobile money accounts to bank account. Now, the charge will apply to electronic transfers that are more than 100 cedis on a daily basis. Speaking to City Business News on preparation towards the levy's implementation, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, Dr. Kenneth Ashibe, said it is important that all key challenges are looked at. Some of the challenges we have seen with the law as has been passed, which we hope to take up, are a few discriminatory elements within what's happening. For example, if your salary is paid from a bank account, it won't attract the levy. But if you are paid with mobile money, then it will attract the levy. That definitely is not equitable and is discriminatory. We hope that going forward, such issues will be addressed. We know that one of the elements of a good tax is that it should not be discriminatory, especially due to the channels that one uses. All of these are things we will be working on with government to ensure that the unintended consequences do not come and derail government's own digitalization agenda that is put up, he added.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's pretty much broken it down nicely. If your salary is 1,000 cedis, you are going to be charged 1.5. That's 15 Ghana cedis on that 1,000.
Yeah.
So 15 Ghana cedis on every 1,000 cedis. That's what you're going to lose. Now, my question is the tax on the person who is sending the money, or also on the one who's receiving the money? Because both sides of it are part of a transaction.
Yes.
And it's a transaction levy.
Yeah.
So the one who's sending and the one who's receiving, are they both liable to be taxed?
No, but you know, usually if
one side gets taxed.
As it stands now, when you are doing Momo,
yeah,
right? So there's some kind of two-way tax system that both of you need to pay.
Yeah.
Now, it should be an agreement between, so for instance, if I buy something from you, it is 1,000 cedis, right? I will have to pay
the 50, both ways.
Charges from whoever, I mean, whatever we need to pay, because sometimes the vendors will ask you, are you paying for the withdrawal as well? Or you are just paying what is on the sending? So if I have sold something to you and it's 1,000 cedis, I am expecting 1,000 cedis, whichever way you decide to pay for it. So if you are going to do Momo, know that you are paying all the charges.
If you were paying cash, I would have received 1,000
cedis. So don't come and tell me that, oh, you know, because of Momo, then come to my office and give me my 1,000 cedis.
Walk to the office.
Exactly. So this is what it means. This is those of us who do momo, you know, who understand momo, this is how it works. So it means that now, if you are the one sending,
interesting times.
Yeah. But I think that.
No, Kenashbe has made very valid points.
You know, that we all pay. So it means that now people do momo and my money is going to be deducted because salary now kasa you know, and they always think A way, B way, kind of from it. No, let the money be there. You know, I work and come. And it says that this, if you're not careful, it would affect, you know, government digitalization agenda.
What the quote he gave us that it's a good tax. It's not discriminatory.
Exactly.
Which means this isn't a good tax in its current form. It's not a good tax.
I mean, once it's discriminatory, you know, according to what he is saying. So I think that there are some aspects of
that they need to look at
of the e-levy law that needs to be, because these are genuine concerns. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of people move away from the mobile money, you know, system and do other means of getting their monies. And this is not what we are preaching, you know. So we may want to pay attention to some of these things as well.
Yeah, well, we're going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. Exciting conversations coming up. All right, welcome back. It's the Breakfast Daily, and we're having conversations about our communities and the importance of making sure that our communities function optimally, function well to the betterment of everybody in the community. And we're going over to the Western region in Shama. There's some challenges that are happening there. It's not something that's new. It's not something that's new, and it's not only happening in Shama, other places as well. But we're looking at focusing on Shama this morning, and we're looking at the issue of open defecation and the complaints that they don't have actual functioning, proper public toilet facilities, you know, in the fishing communities of Shama. This report filed by our colleague Akwesi Enimeche. Let's take a look.
Shama being a coastal community, the business of fishing has been the mainstay of many in the town. Although many of these women also get their livelihood from selling the catch by fishermen, the women, just like the fishermen, do their business in fields caused by indiscriminate disposal of waste, mainly rubber, as well as human excreta, for lack of toilets and waste bins.
I mean, you're going to toilet. I was there, me. No matter toilet. Would you hear number what I toilet? How good? Why? I mean, focus on her, Miss Focus on her. I've been saying the ending. I see here in the pa, I know toilet. So, Penny, I'm a new to Puna, I know toilet. What may you toilet here, man?
To help address the negative impact of open defecation and general filth, which is hurting the fishing business and tourism along the Shama coast, Ecozoil, a Ghanaian waste management firm, has embarked on a massive cleanup of the Shama Apo Beach.
With the coastal areas, we have come on board ourselves to undertake this cleanup exercise, and we have also engaged people from the communities that we've given them the PPEs and some training and some basic training on how to clean. We also provide receptacles for them to be able to dump the waste generated into them. Beyond this, we are calling on collaboration from the government, from NGOs, from private beaches, from community opinion leaders to come on board to support us, to collaborate with us to keep the beaches clean. Because we believe that when the beach is clean, it doesn't just go for the community, but it also goes for Ghana as a whole. Our tourism potential is being harnessed, and we realize that the many diseases that are being the people along the coast are being affected with would reduce.
As much as residents here at the Shama Apo Beach seem to be happy that the Eco Brigade is cleaning the beaches, they are saying that the issue of open defecation will never come to an end until they are provided with decent public toilets that they can use.
I'm Porchahan, yet on the other one. By a baby to me. I put a wall from you and you are doing. Never been a Hawaii toilet to the man when you super you too. Into me a argument, the other said so when they have toilets. Yes, slab and don't run on your man. Yeah, upon the chop. If you're not by a man.
The new toilets. Toilets will have says where the dada. A billion you have a baby.
Well, there you have it. It is a report that was filed by a colleague from the Western region, Akwesi Animeje. And Frema, the truth of the matter is that as a people, as any people, we are judged by how we deal with the weakest and the most vulnerable in our society. If we don't, we can have our plush Airport City apartments. It's great.
No, this is the true us.
But this is us.
This is the true us, you know,
This
and
is Shama,
you know,
is
sometimes
us.
the difficulty is in as much as you are trying to get people to do the right thing. I mean, an issue like this is nature. There's absolutely nothing anybody can do about it. And so if we do not put proper measures in place to deal with such of these issues, talking to the people alone will not change much, you know, because fine, okay, so they don't want to do this. But when nature calls, then what?
Should you do?
You know, because these are things that we will have to deal with them, you know, and so kind of solving issues in pockets will not achieve anything. If we really want to make a difference, we have to address things holistically. You know, they shouldn't do that. Then make provision for what they should use.
Well, thank you very much, Frema, for that.